Hi, I'm Tobias Leenaert. I am the author of How to Create a Vegan World, and I will be present at VCOP 21, and I will be interviewed about strategies on how to create a more compassionate world and speaking on how we can deal with living as a vegan in this world. I hope to see you there and welcome you to my talk.
Hi, I'm Mariquita Solis with Climate Healers, and I'm excited because VCOP 21 is coming, making big change happen, April 26th and April 27th. So put that on your calendar and make sure to register. I'm here with Tobias Leenaert today, and he is one of our guest speakers. So I wanted to get to know Tobias a little bit better before I saw him at VCOP and wanted you all to have a chance to get to know him, to get better. So thanks for joining us, Tobias.
Glad to be here.
Well, I love your line of thinking and I love your calm energy that you have. And I'm wondering, how did you come to get this calm energy and acceptance? Now, when I use the term acceptance, I'm not saying, that everything is wonderful, that the world is, that there's no awful things or that you're not angry about anything or you don't feel anger. I'm saying this place where you see that this is what it is. However, you're taking action. So you're not stuck where many people are stuck in anger and sadness where they can't move forward or they can't function. How did you attain this level in your life? I mean, what kind of changes brought about this?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice question. Thank you. Just let me preamble this by saying I'm not calm at all times. I have been shouting at hunters some weeks ago. Sometimes I lose my patience, but I think that in general I can bring up sort of compassionate attitude towards the people who are doing things that we don't like, people who eat meat, people who kill animals, people who rear animals on factory farms. And I think that the way I got to this attitude is a bit of pragmatism, actually. Pragmatism is my philosophy. And in this case, it means, well, being sad and being angry are not going to work. They're not going to help animals a lot. So if I want to help animals, I should not be sad and I should not be angry. Um, and of course, in many cases, we cannot change ourselves so easily. And we can know that we should be this or that, but we cannot necessarily be it. But in this case, it seems to work. So I tell myself, look, if I'm going to be angry and screaming here, it's not going to help. If I'm going to be sad and sit down and not do any action, it's not going to help. If I'm going to judge, it's probably not going to help animals. So I think one good tool or practice is to actually take the position of the animal. Like, let's just take one individual pig in a crate and imagine that you are her, and imagine that you're looking at you as a human, as an activist. Imagine that you're looking at the vegan movement, at the climate movement, and imagine that she has a good view of what works and what doesn't, and then you just imagine what she will be happy with and what she will despair about in terms of our actions. And I think she would despair, this pig in the crate, she would despair if she saw us raging and being angry without thought and judging everybody, and she would say like, oh my god, this is not going to get me out of here, this is not going to help me. So that idea, just to be pragmatic in your feelings, in your outreach, in your communication, and focus always on what creates tangible change for animals rather than what makes us feel good or um, what gives us some good feeling, because that is a bit the problem or the issue here. Being angry sometimes feels very good, and that is, I think, misleading. Um, it feels good in two ways. It feels good in the sense that, like, if you rage, like I raged at the hunters, and it felt good, but it doesn't necessarily did any good. And also, if you then post about your anger on social media, or if you write some angry piece, you will often get from the vegan movement, you will often get very positive feedback about it. People will praise you for being so angry and for like telling them like it is, and maybe screaming, etc. And that again is misleading, and it shouldn't guide our actions, because I don't think it's the best way to help the animals.
You're really on point there. A lot of times people will say, well, I put them in their place, right? And yesterday I was talking to someone, Donna Sauerberger, and she was saying how even when people see facts, they hold on to it even more, right? So, I mean, they become more steadfast in their convictions. And I feel like that's applicable here. If we shut someone down, they're just going to hold on to that conviction even more. If we shame them or get angry at them or say, you don't care about, who are you? You don't care about animals. You don't care about this, or you don't care about that. I mean, that is so harsh. And how can we change people with harshness?
Yeah, one way of saying this is saying you can't alienate people into joining your team. You know, they won't join your team if you just push them further and further away. And I think that personal contact is actually maybe the best good personal contact, where you welcome other people into the fold and into your club and into your house or whatever. I mean, it's very intensive, and we cannot do that on a large scale easily, but probably like if you have like a little bit of a vegan commune or a vegan household, and some meat eater joins that somehow for a week or something, probably that's the best way for them to change. See how you are, and that you're peaceful, and that you're happy with that diet, and then learn it's compassionate, and learn it's tasty. And so that's probably the best way to yeah, to make somebody tip over to us, rather than shaming them, guilting them, even though those things may feel good at times. And even though maybe sometimes they work, but I would say as a general rule, we should be wary of them. Maybe some people are prone to feeling guilty, and with them you can like poke a bit at their guilt. Um, or maybe they will be more impressed when you're angry than when you're compassionate. But generally, as a rule, I would say, yeah, try compassion and try patience and try not non-judgmental attitudes first.
I think that too. It's important to be kind, and what you're saying with having those one-on-one interactions, I think is so important, because people see veganism as something that's just like they don't even know what it is. It's some obscure thing that they're going to have to change their whole life. But like if they're going with you and they're eating with you and seeing that, wait a minute, this isn't so hard, and look at what Tobias is eating. It actually tastes good. That's changing thoughts. And whether I mean, this might be a slow process, but this is the slow and steady process that sticks, I think, because you are there to support the person that you actually have a relationship with, and that's a relationship that would be respectful, right? I mean, and this has a foundation of respect and friendship, and I mean, what's a better foundation than that for change? Whereas if we're coming across someone we don't know and we expect them to change in 5 minutes and they don't even know who we are, it just seems highly illogical. But yet that is what so many of us are demanding. And we feel
Hmm.
bad about that. I might go home and say, well, I didn't change anybody today. Now I'm just a failure. I'm ashamed. I'm going to cry myself to sleep at night because these people didn't change. I talked to them, I screamed at them or talked to them for 15 minutes, and they didn't change. And look what a bad person I am. And then that turns it around on me. And then, there's so many vegans that are feeling this way and feeling sad about themselves. What would you say to those vegans?
But I would say that it's a pretty high bar if you expect people to change very rapidly just because you gave them some facts. Um, So I would say on the one hand, diversify your tactics. Just don't give them just facts, but also take them out to dinner, cook together with them, go shopping with them, make sure that eat something tasty so that their reluctance or their aversion to listening to you is reduced. And I would also say that, like when you say, okay, I talked to this person, it didn't change, I didn't become vegan. I would suggest that we see people as some kind of containers or some bucket, if you want, and they are slowly being filled, drop by drop, with compassion drops, let's say. And at some point, the bucket will flow over. But at no point will you know how full the bucket is. You cannot look into it. But everything that you do, hopefully, every fact you give them, every time you say something, you talk to them, or you make them help them watch a movie or eat with them, those are things that fill that bucket of compassion. Maybe you can also poke holes in the bucket if you are too harsh with them. That's also possible. But the important thing is to realize that you're sowing seeds, you're dropping drops, and at some point the bucket is going to be full. And it's not just you that's filling their bucket, but it's all other people too. It's what they watch on the news. It's all kind of things, and we're not responsible for filling another person's bucket entirely. It is filled by the work of everybody, and by all the things that they encounter. So I wouldn't feel guilty about not seeing immediate results.
Well, I think that those are wise words. How would you, I mean, what do you think? I live close to a factory farm, and the workers I see going in the factory farm, and I don't even know what to think. I mean, I know it's hard for me not to be angry just at the initial, right? At the initial thing, at the base level. I'm angry at you for doing this. But if I really think about it, I have to, I have to explore what it's like for those people. And what would you say to someone that is really angry at the factory farm workers?
Yeah. Well, again, the anger is going to just alienate those people. It is from you if you express that anger. And if you don't express it and you just feel it, it's not going to help you either. It's just going to eat you inside, and it's not going to make you a better activist or more effective for animals. So it's useless. It's pretty much useless. I mean, it's maybe good to vent it now and then in sports or whatever, or hitting some ball or something like that. That is probably a good way to live it. But other than that, um, I would suggest that, like, yeah, if you want to engage with people like that, you try a compassionate and a curious attitude rather than a judgmental and angry one. And it's always good to like imagine that. So in there's a saying that I like. It sounds religious, but it doesn't necessarily need to be religious. But it is, there, but for the grace of God go I. There, but for the grace of God go I. That person could just as well have been me. If I had been raised in their circumstances, if I had had the information they had had, if I hadn't received the things I have received in my life, I could be them, and I could be doing the things that they did. There's nothing in me that I consciously willed differently than what they are. So that is a way to be compassionate, to just understand that you could be them, and that they maybe cannot help so much about who they are and what they're doing. And they might need to just bring in some money, and they may not have a better job, and they may be poor, and they may be unskilled, etc., etc., etc. So I think that is a good place to start, to have compassion with them, and it's a good place to start a conversation from, um, I think. And if you don't want to engage with these people, you don't have to at all, of course, but then at least it's also better to think like that, rather than blame them for what they're doing. In any case, if they didn't do that, somebody else would do it, etc. It's not a systemic solution. What we have to do is to change the system so that people are not called to work in such horrible conditions, doing such horrible things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that awareness that they're trapped in the system too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, how do you ground yourself? After a long day of activism, what do you do to bring yourself down?
Um, well, what relaxes me is, or what, yeah, in as far as I can be relaxed, because my head is always busy, but I would say I like cooking. I like watching TV series, and I like reading, and I do some sports. So it's not nothing spectacular. Um, it's the things that do some job relaxing most people. But I think it's mainly about yeah, quieting the thoughts. And if you have some things, some internal ideas, some lines, some quotes that you can live by, that you can internalize and that you can remember a lot, like the thing I just said there, but for the grace of God go I, or some techniques of like trying to put yourself in the other person's position, and see what their life looks like from that perspective. Those things I think help quiet my mind and avoid that I get angry or too judgmental. And there's things where I cannot bring up that attitude. Like I am, for instance, very sensitive to noise, and if there's like motorbikes racing past my in my street or something, I really have a hard time being compassionate. Each of us has their own peeves that trigger them, their own triggers. And for me, I have been able to somehow avoid being triggered by people doing bad things to animals, although I can get angry, just like in the case of the hunters. But there's other things where I am unable to bring up that compassion as easily. For some reason, I don't know. I'm very sensitive to noise, I think, for instance. Yeah.
Well, life is a journey, and I love your curiosity on the journey. And it's good that you have your cooking and your sports and things yeah, to shift away. I mean, we all need that. So I love what you've been saying. And I want to make sure to invite everyone to VCOP 21. Again, making big change happen April 26th and 27th. So you can see more of Tobias and hear more wisdom, how to navigate vegan life and just the journey of life. So we hope to see you there. Thank you so much for speaking with me, Tobias.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you at VCOP. Make sure that you register, everybody.